Welcome to SeniorBasketballAnalyst.com. Four Stringer here with you once again. Here to recap the Golden State Warriors 129-116 win on the Minnesota Timberwolves home floor. I got to give credit to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And it's very easy to gush about the Golden State Warriors and talk about all the great things they're doing, the 10-0 start. It's very easy to do that. And frankly, everybody is going to do that. So I'm going to be very heavy in this recap on the Minnesota Timberwolves just because what they're doing is amazing because of where they came from. We have to keep in mind the Minnesota Timberwolves were a historically bad team last year. They had all kinds of, all of these micro statistics where they were the worst in history. They were one of the worst offensive and defensive teams in the league last year. Really, the only team that really rivaled them in futility last year was the Philadelphia 76ers, who are perpetually tanking. So to see the Minnesota Timberwolves flip this all around on its head and turn into a credible team in just one offseason is really amazing. It really is. And you have to give credit to the late Flip Saunders. And the reason that you give him the credit, obviously, is he was running the ship. But you can point to key acquisitions, key moves that he made that turned it around. Bringing in Sam Mitchell to be what was going to be his associate head coach and now is the head coach. Whatever title they put on it, this is his team. You see the difference in this roster bringing in Kevin Garnett and the way, the attitude and approach of these guys. It's really amazing. Karl Anthony Towns is a rock solid individual. But to have Kevin Garnett there and to have the leadership of Sam Mitchell there and an organization, look, this can be the difference between a guy having a career like Tim Duncan and having a career like DeMarcus Cousins. The organization you go to shapes your career. If Tim Duncan had been drafted by the Atlanta Hawks or the Philadelphia 76ers or whoever, you would see a different player. You would see a different career. The Atlanta Hawks have these long stretches where they're horrible. The Sacramento Kings, really, in my lifetime, the only time they've really been a potential threat is during the Chris Webber era, one of the greatest players that the world has ever seen. But it was a very, very good roster they put together. And that's really been the only time years on end of futility. And that is the type of thing that shapes your career. Karl Anthony Towns, it's amazing. We were having this discussion about Towns and just talking about all of the things that he has at his disposal, all these tools. He has the jump hook with the right hand, the jump hook with the left hand. He's a beast on the glass. He's a very intelligent defender. He actually forced some turnovers on Steph Curry as a center, a 7-foot center switching out. And he was switching out because Levine was getting beat on these screens. So it wasn't like it was a planned switch. He was noticing that Levine was beat, switching out and defending Steph Curry, forcing him into misses, and then forced him to palm the ball. Got called for a carry, which, how often do you see a carry in an NBA game? But if you're looking at Karl Anthony Towns and you're within the Timberwolves organization, you have to be throwing party. You have to be throwing a party right now because you look at him and you say, this guy's a cornerstone, man. He's a cornerstone of a franchise. He can be a guy that's like Steph Curry is to the Golden State Warriors, where this guy is showing that he has the character to improve, but already comes with a base skill set that allows him to be as successful as a rookie. Karl Anthony Towns is already one of the best centers in basketball, and he just got here. He's 19 years old. So it's really great to see what Minnesota is able to do. Now let's talk about Golden State and the spectacular nature of this team. As Steph Curry said after the game, they're not even calling sets. They don't call any plays. They just go out there and they know exactly how they're going to space the floor on every possession. The first thing they do, obviously, is they're going to try to run, and they're going to try to run the floor, have a wing on either side, and break. That's the first thing they're going to try to do. If that's not available, then they're going to get into their secondary break, you know, where you have the guy in the corner and then you have one guy on the wing. You get to a secondary break situation. If you can get a guy with either a seal or streaking right to the middle, because usually nobody on this team plays with their back to the basket for the most part. Every now and then you'll see a post by Harrison Barnes, and you will see Sean Livingston post up. With Sean Livingston, he's so good at posting up just above the block and hitting that fadeaway. He is so good at that. But anyway, usually they'll just do a rim run instead of having like a Dwight Howard or somebody like that sealing from the basket, because they don't have any back to the basket bigs. So they'll just do a rim run down the middle. Regardless, and then if that doesn't work, and then they get into they screen, they have a guy in the opposite corner and if he looks and sees his man being silly, he'll cut back door on him. They everything, when you're watching it, you're like, oh, well, you get flashbacks of when you saw this before. And you're like, oh, then now this guy's going to cut and then he's going to score. And you can see it developing, but they're so great at it and they're so fluid and their timing is so spectacular that there's nothing you can do about it. One of the things that was disappointing about this game was Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine got a golden opportunity on national TV to start at point guard opposite Steph Curry, and this is when you show out. This is the kind of game you wait for, man. And Zach LaVine did not look up to the task, and it was disappointing. He finally, in the fourth quarter, after sitting for a long time, managed to get over one screen. Before that, he had been hung up on every single screen set on him, every single one. He did not successfully get over a screen, and worse yet, and I was saying all these things live on Twitter, but worse yet, he did not get under a screen successfully. He got hung up on every single one. You look at the score, you go, how does man, Steph Curry have 46? How do you do that? Well, part of the reason is Zach LaVine played horrific defense. And here's the thing. Sam Mitchell eventually just went to Andre Miller for extended minutes. But and Andre was having a really tough time because the guy can't move anymore. He's an old man. He can't move. But just having Andre trying to do the right things was better than having Zach LaVine just get hung up on a screen and then Steph Curry's wide open. You know, like one of those threes that Steph Curry hit on Andre Miller, if you were following the game on Twitter, everybody went crazy with it because it was such a weird thing to have happen. Andre Miller actually slapped the ball out of his hand, and Steph regained it in the middle of his shooting form and shot it straight in. It was a real shot. It wasn't lucky. It was a real shot. But the fact that he hit it was just crazy, right? Zach LaVine wasn't anywhere near Steph when he was hitting threes against him. He wasn't near him. He was just getting beat on the actual action itself and losing him. You can't have that. You can't have that. The backcourt of Andre Miller and Kevin Martin was far better than what Zach LaVine and Andrew Wiggins were doing when they were backcourt mates. And it was all on Andrew. It was all on LaVine. Wiggins played fine. They moved Wiggins over to the three, and that lineup was much better off. That was much better off. And it was because Martin came in and Martin was actually putting the ball in the basket, and Andre Miller was doing a little scoring, assisting, and he was just keeping things running. There were people that whose basketball opinion I respect that were getting irritated with the offense that the Timberwolves were running. Look, the Timberwolves are not going to look like the Golden State Warriors. The Timberwolves are going to have to, a lot of times, have Andre Miller back, start doing, backing him down like he's Charles Barkley from the three-point line all the way to the block. They're going to have to do that sometimes, man. These guys are all kids, and they just started running their stuff. They have maybe 3 plays that they call that work, that they can run, and the timing is right. And one of them they ran in the fourth quarter, and it was actually a single double for Andrew Wiggins is what it ended up being. They ran a pick and roll on the opposite side that the single double was going to come to. They ran a pick and roll on the opposite side. but it was a decoy. They weren't really trying to do anything with that. And then they quickly went into a single double for Andrew Wiggins. He came off of it, and then I believe it was Andre Miller whipped it across to him. And it was perfect. Andrew Wiggins rose, and you can tell because it looks very fluid when a team, the way the Golden State Warriors look on almost every possession, that's how the Timberwolves looked on that possession. But they only have maybe 3 things they do like that look. One of the best things they can do is if they can get Karl-Anthony Towns with space on a block, just dump it to him and let him go to work, just like the old days. Just let him go to work. So all the motion and pace and space and all of these buzzwords, most teams can't do that. This is part of the problem with the NBA right now. It's the same problem the NFL is having and why their product is bad. Everybody's trying to do something that only a few quarterbacks can even run. They're running offenses only a few quarterbacks can run. If you don't have Aaron Rodgers, you don't have a cheater, Tom Brady, or somebody like that, you can't even do any of this stuff these teams are trying to do. And they wonder why their offenses are failing. Why don't you try running the ball instead of just airing it out on everybody and then wondering why you had 5 interceptions and the other team ran the score upon you? In the NBA right now, everybody is trying to run around and do the pace and space and throw up a bunch of threes. You don't have Steph Curry. You don't have a small ball forward like Draymond Green that is tough enough and agile enough, or is tough enough to get a rebound, but then agile enough and a very good passer. I believe Draymond Green had double figures assists tonight. I know he had to. He had 12 assists tonight. You don't have Draymond Green. You don't have that player. So you trying to be the Golden State Warriors would be foolish. You don't have that personnel. You have regular personnel. And for the Minnesota Timberwolves, one of the best things they can do, Karl-Anthony Towns got the hook with either hand. Terrorize people on the block. He draws doubles. Dump it to him and draw the double. These are the things they have to do right now until they can. And a lot of this stuff just takes time. It takes time playing together. And until they can establish that, they have to do a lot of things that they're just regular and boring and we don't necessarily want to see. But I'll tell you like this, they didn't get blown out the building like a lot of these other teams. And Minnesota Timberwolves, and this is what we have to stress. The Minnesota Timberwolves, they don't have any more talent than anybody else. They flat out don't. There's nothing about this team that is. They're starting 2 guys that can only play 15 minutes max in a game. They're starting Tayshaun Prince, who played 14 minutes tonight. Kevin Garnett played 11 in his 21st season. Kevin Garnett didn't even try to shoot today. He had 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and sat down and got a towel and started waving it. Like, these guys are basically coaches. They played Andre Miller 22 minutes tonight. So when you look at this roster is not a good roster yet. They're a few drafts away from being able to compete the way that now that they have switched focus and really are serious, they're a couple years away from that. They really are. They're a couple years away. They're at least 2 drafts away. They got to, and Zach LaVine's got to figure it out. Zach LaVine needs a hard summer of work. His ball handling, his shooting, and then he's got his decision making, everything. And he's really just got to commit. You know, it's one thing to be able to jump high, but man, you know what that gets you? That gets you 3 of 11 from the field and torched by Steph Curry. Torched, man, torched. So when you look at this team, and very disappointed, by the way, Ricky Rubio, very disappointed. And I don't know if I'm assuming he's hurt, but since he sat, I'm assuming he's hurt and take him at his word. But man, I really wanted to see Rubio because as I've said in previous videos, I've been very impressed with Ricky Rubio this early in the season. I think he's made a lot of improvements. I wanted to see him go head up with the MVP. That's what I wanted to see. That's what we tuned in for. So I was disappointed in that. But Zach LaVine, that's what I said again. He really blew a golden opportunity. Wiggins, let me tell you something about Wiggins. Wiggins with this thing where he's driving hard into the paint and then he spins and dunks the ball. I mean, he's dunking on the heads of centers routinely with that. He dunked all over the Bulls bogusly with that move. This Andrew Wiggins kid, sky's the limit for this kid. You know, the switch to shooting guard seems to fit him well, and he's got very quick feet. So it's very similar to a Paul George thing. And we've seen Paul George. Paul George used to play shooting guard too. He could play a 3 or 2. So Andrew Wiggins seems to have that kind of athletic ability, or that kind of versatility in his athletic ability. So it's good to see him in his young season carrying on what he did at the end of last season. That's good to see. To wrap it up with the Golden State Warriors, you know, it's just like clockwork with these guys. It's like clockwork. And it just goes to show you, by the way, what coaching in the NBA really is about and what it isn't about, right? I keep bringing up the famous video of the Atlanta Hawks just walking off while Coach Bud is trying to draw something up, just walked away from him, right? Just ignore him. Coaching in the NBA is not a game-by-game thing like it is in amateur basketball. And it's not an adjustment it's not making constant adjustments and tinkering and calling plays from the sideline and trying to micromanage your team. That's not NBA coaching. And I think that when you look, when they were reading off all of these record streaks to start seasons, and it was all kinds of either first-year coaches and coaches that aren't very good. It was the Lakers was Kurt Rambis. Lawrence Frank was the Nets when they fired Byron Scott for no reason. Lawrence Frank was the Nets. Now Luke Walton. You see a pattern here? This is my point. There are plenty of things that NBA coaches do. One of the things you're supposed to do is handle the media and handle your players. This is why George Karl has been a disaster for the Sacramento Kings. I don't know what's wrong with this guy. I don't know what's wrong, what he thinks he's doing. I don't know what's wrong with this guy, but he's going to get fired in record time because he's doing a terrible job as coach. Got to handle the media. You have to keep the players in line. And keeping the players in line doesn't mean telling them what to do. A lot of times it means massaging egos and things like that. That's why I said Fred Hoiberg doing this thing where he has them run some Joakim Noah sets is a really good thing. Him showing the veteran respect. That's a good thing. That's what coaches are supposed to do. That's how you keep these guys playing hard for you. You're supposed to do those things. You're supposed to call a guy's number on the block, even though you know he can't score. Yeah, throw the ball into the post to Ben Wallace so we can watch him throw up a hook and miss. And then you know what? He's going to grab 15 rebounds and get 6 blocks. So dump it, burn a couple possessions, and then now he's happy. He feels like he got treated with respect. Cool, right? So to get back to what coaching is and what it isn't. So coaching is not, man, Luke Walton must be out coaching all these other coaches because he keeps blowing everybody out. No, that's stupid. That is foolish. That's a foolish way of thinking. That's not the way professional sports is. Once you have established certain habits, the team basically runs itself on the court. Now, you are in charge of the rotation. You can botch it that way. There are adjustments you're going to have to make, especially in the playoffs. And in the playoffs, the coaching gets completely different. Now now the coaches are much more engaged. But over the course of an 82-game season, basically, you just throw the balls out there and the guys go and do their thing. That's why Luke Walton can coach your team and you're 10-0. That's why. It's not that Luke Walton knows what he's doing. He couldn't possibly. He's not a coach. He just started doing this. So he couldn't possibly. This is why last year when everybody was acting like Steve Kerr, what is Steve Kerr, some kind of genius? We know he's not. Had you ever heard of him being a genius before this? No. So why would the Golden State Warriors be so awesome with this guy that's never coached at any level before? Because basketball is about, professional basketball is about instilling habits that the team takes with it. Oh, like the Spurs. If something happened to Greg Popovich and someone took over for him right now, there would be no change. Greg Popovich has been establishing this for over a decade. They do the same stuff that they did back when Avery Johnson was there. You don't need a coach to, on a game-by-game basis, fix that now, or to implement that. Now, on the other hand, you do need somebody to carry it on, and Greg Popovich is continuing to do that. But if he walked away right now, wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. They could play the whole season and it wouldn't matter. It'd be the same result. Wouldn't matter. There may be a game. And so when you look at the coaching, always remember there are things they're doing and then there are things they're not doing. There are things they're not doing. Because I'll tell you like this. If it was the way that they try to make it out to be sometimes, then yeah, that would mean because Kenny Smith kept saying it in the last night on NBA TV. He kept just saying under his breath, fire Kerr. Go up, fire Kerr. Because it's silly. And he actually was right to be sarcastic about it. If the way that we talk about NBA coaching is the way it really was, then yeah, you should fire Steve Kerr right now. Let him, you know what? You staying home, stay home forever. Luke Walton's a better coach than you. He's 10-0. He's the best coach in the league, right? Of course not. So I just wanted to get that off my chest really quick. With that said, Golden State Warriors machine is something they've been establishing over the course of several years. Stephen Curry said that in the game, a couple weeks ago. He said, hey, man, we've been doing this for 3 or 4 years now. And it shows. And it's a credit. It's a credit really to the players that they have stuck with it and they have been focused, even with coaching changes and things like that. They've stayed focused. And it's really a credit to them. And I really applaud them because I'm going to tell you like this. Steph Curry and Draymond Green, it's like they have some kind of mind meld at this point. Those dudes are like joined. Those guys are like read each other's mind. It's beautiful to watch. There's only one problem with Golden State right now. Klay Thompson stinks. He stinks. And he's playing so poorly. I'm starting to think he might have some minor injury or something because he's playing really poorly on both ends of the floor. I'm concerned about Klay Thompson at this point because every time I watch him, he looks bad. He's struggling to finish at the rim. He is not cutting as sharp as because Klay Thompson, to me, moves the best in the league without the ball. He's not cutting well. I don't like the way he looks right now. I don't like it. So I'm going to keep watching this and I'm worried about it. And defensively, he's not moving his feet well. So I think something might be wrong with him. And, that happens. The rigors of the NBA, it's going to wear on the Golden State too. It isn't so far. The injuries they have are inconsequential, like, Bogut. I don't understand Bogut, by the way. I watched Patrick Ewing and guys like that play their whole career and never have any face problems. This dude, he gets tapped in the head and then he's laying on the floor and he got a concussion. I don't understand this guy. Like, how you get hit in the head that often when you're taller than everyone else? You're 7 feet tall. So and everybody's playing small ball now. Like I watched guys like David Robinson and Hakeem Olajuwon and Patrick Ewing elbow each other for 15 years straight, and nobody ever had these problems. I watched Bill Cartwright and Patrick Ewing throwing elbows at each other for an entire game. Nothing. In today's NBA, where it's as soft and ticky-tack as it is, it's like Bogut's bones are made of stale crackers or something. Like, why is he always getting these weird injuries like this? But anyway, the stuff they have to endure is stuff like that, like a dude who's inconsequential. Harrison Barnes, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Professor Azili, Sean Livingston. These guys, man, Andre Iguodala, these guys are healthy, man. And if Klay Thompson has something wrong with him, he should sit now. He should sit now and just get his rest and then come back strong. But I am worried about Klay Thompson. So with that said, again, Golden State, it was business as usual. Stephen Curry is on some record-breaking pace to hit as many threes. He's hitting more threes than multiple teams and all of that. You can check out all of that. It's all over the internet. It's crazy. Stephen Curry. So again, Stephen Curry and the Golden State Warriors, business as usual. 129 over 129 to 16. Golden State over the Minnesota Timberwolves, 129 to 116 in Minnesota. In Minnesota, again, I'm proud of these guys because they're turning their franchise around, and I'm going to keep watching them because they're a really exciting young team. That said, you know what to do. It's the hashtag is SBA4. Follow me on all social media. You check us out. And seniorbasketballanalyst.com. And log on to it. All NBA news is there, and all of our recaps are there. So you know what to do. Check us out, and you know that.